You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. And my feet have come too far for you to tie 'em to the ground. You can't stop me now. Can't stop me now. Set my sights on where I'm going at. They turn it back around. You can't stop me.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Psych Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight, and with me tonight is Sherry. Sherry, darling, you have a new book out, Life Mastery. Tell us a little bit about your history. How did you get into this?
Well, I wanted mastery of my own life. I was a particularly undisciplined teenager and undisciplined young adult. And when I settled down a little bit, I thought, oh, I want stuff, and how am I going to get it? I wanted I wanted the very best things that life had to offer. And I knew it was possible, but I had to figure out how to do that. So I went on my own journey and discovered the keys to success, practiced them. You know, you don't just do that overnight, right? It was a process. Then I began being asked to speak, which I still do. I've been asked to teach some classes and workshops, which I still do on request. And then I was started one-on-one coaching, and then I put it in a book. I got a little bit older. I said, this is too good information. I don't want to die with it in my head.
Right.
So I put it in a book.
Yeah, and you started developing skills and stuff.
Yes.
So that now we have the book, The Life Mastery. What other person comes into that? Because this is kind of a tie-in. We were getting into this right before pre-show about all the things that tie in there.
Like, you mean the different aspects of life mastery?
Right.
Yeah. So so part of the time that I when working on coaching, I had a gym. So we were doing fitness and food, and then we were doing on the other hand. So it was Fit Mania and Fit Life. So we still were doing personal development. The reason that I did that was because we discovered pretty quick that we start taking care of the physical, some of the other things follow, right? So there's physical, spiritual. We don't want to just have a physical life. We want to have a spiritual life. Relationships, of course, are critically important. Money, education, motivation, character, lifestyle. There's eight sections that I have. And somebody asked me the other day, what's most important? Well, they're all really equally important. Without any one of those things, you don't really have life mastery. We're talking about having mastery over our different aspects of our life. And you can't have mastery over your life if you have one that's not, right?
Not only that, but as you start changing one of them, the other one will change too.
That is so smart. Yes, absolutely. That's true.
You know, example, how many people have you seen come out of a divorce and they will lose 200 pounds quickly? They take a job promotion immediately after the divorce that they've been trying to get for years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, they're all puzzle pieces. They all have to fit together and work nice to each other.
They really are. And we're very complex human beings. So it's a simple example would be like, so maybe I'm really driven for a financial or a career goals. If I'm not careful, it can affect my character adversely, right? I might compromise, or I might stand my ground and say, I want success, but I will not cross this line. Affects my character. My relationships will affect my ability to be effective, and my ability to be effective will affect my relationships. You can't touch any one of these 8 areas without touching all 8. It's just about impossible. We're very complex and we're very layered. You know, Shrek said we're like an onion, right? Well, he was.
Well, we're very much like an onion or a puzzle or a quilt, because those pieces that make us up get very complexary. So is the book just how your full program, or just kind of like the scratching ground of it?
It's pretty much the full program as I would present it. Of course, obviously, when you're working with people, there's much more to it, but it is a whole full program, and this is why. A lot of books in this genre will just take one principle and then, which is nothing wrong with, it's not a criticism. I read all these books, but they take one principle, maybe habits, and they do all this research. They hire a researcher and they just talk about habits. I don't have time for that. So I put everything I know in that book, but I only put in things that I didn't know from my own experience. I think that what makes me unique is
Mhm.
that I didn't go read a study, read up on some things, gather some information together. This information I knew of myself because I practice it and because I've taught it, and I've taught it to hundreds of people, maybe
Right.
thousands of people, probably
And
thousands of people.
probably, and you continue working and building in that area also still too.
Yes, I do. And I
Um,
continue to learn myself, as
Yeah.
I teach other people, I learn too.
Now, this is a question I think is kind of obvious, but I'm going to ask you anyhow. What is the value of having a coach or a mentor in your life?
I wish I'd had one. I would have got there a little faster. It's really valuable. I'm working with a couple of people now that it struck me in particular that without me, and not that I'm anything special, particular, I think I'm pretty good at what I do, but they've been floundering around looking for, they want to be successful. They want to get mastery of their lives. They don't even have a full sense of what that would look like. And with just a little bit of conversation and direction, they're on fire and they're making great things happen. But they needed some direction and some help. And that's the value of a good mentor. A good
Right.
mentor is somebody that just spills everything in their head out to somebody else, but they listen a little bit, teach them some skills. That's another thing unique about my book is I teach some real things like tracking your goals. If you don't track them, how will you know what you're doing? So I teach some really hard skills too, but also just give them a little bit of direction and believe in them. And you can't believe what people can do, but who's going to do that for most people? So yeah, a mentor or a coach you can do it without, I didn't have one. I couldn't afford one if I did. I could have found one in those days, but it's so much easier. And
I'll be honest, I don't think we could have found them. Like,
I don't think so,
that
no.
field was full because at that time, I'll be quite honest, a lot of your intuitives were doing it. A lot of your psychics were doing life coaching before life coaching was a thing. Because when I took my life coaching course, I was like, yeah, I already do that. Yeah, I already do that. Yeah, I'm already looking at my clients and asking them, okay, what are your goals? And, why are you still carrying around this baggage of this ex-husband that really doesn't benefit you?
Yeah.
So definitely, our age, we're within the same generations.
Do you
They
think?
didn't have
I
COVID.
think I must be older than you.
Not by much, honey. Not by
Is that
much.
right?
If your bio is correct, not by much.
Well, I guess then you saw the bio, so
Yeah. Yeah, I'm celebrating my 15th year on Keen this month in November, and I'm going on to 28 years in doing this business.
oh, is that right? Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been around for a very long time.
Well, you're right. There was nobody doing this really. I don't know about the psychic growth. That would have been outside my jam, but my mentors were in books, and they gave they put together audio programs, and they spoke. And I went to hear them speak, and they were the Zig Ziglars and the Jim Rohns and the Earl Nightingales and Wayne Dyer and some of those guys. Those were my mentors. But you don't get to ask questions. They don't get to look you in the eye and say, you know what I think, what I'm feeling from you, or what I'm getting from you is this. So yeah, there weren't people, and I couldn't have afforded it. We were just
Crazy.
hardly beating ourselves. So I was lucky to buy the book.
Right.
I could borrow it somewhere. I did.
But you've ran 3 successful businesses here at least. The 2 gems.
Yeah, more than that, really, but yes.
Right. And now you've got a book out.
Yeah.
What is people think I'm crazy. And my listeners think I'm insane because my patrons, I even sent them a happy planner when I changed systems. What is the value of daily tracking?
Oh, it's everything. People will say, well, why? People ask me this all the time. Why don't people make their goals happen? And the reason isn't we laugh too about New Year's resolutions. Ha ha ha! People are so weak. They're not weak. They don't have a good system. And I actually do a whole little. I do it when I was asked to speak just recently, for example, to a large realtor group in my town, and my whole theme was why systems are more important than goals. If you have a good system, you can make things happen. Without a good system, you forget. Life is busy, and it demands a lot from you. And you want this thing, but pretty soon you're pulled all these other directions, and you actually kind of forget. But with a system of tracking, and by tracking, I mean you have your daily habits, weekly habits, monthly habits on a tracking sheet, and every day you mark those things off. with a check. And if you didn't do it, you have a blank spot.
Right.
And if you weren't supposed to do it that day, like maybe it wasn't a day you're supposed to work out, you can get an X, so you don't have to have a blank spot. But just doing that habit every day makes all the other habits happen. And habits are everything. Habits is what makes success. Some wise man recently said, I heard him say, if you want to change the shape of your life, change the shape of your day. If you want to change the shape of your day, change the shape of your hour. It's all about habits.
It is. It's about habits. It's about building routines.
Yeah, building routine. Yeah.
You know, we as creatures are still running on programming that we get up at sunrise or we get up at sunset and we run it and we go and do X, Y, Z, D. Our brain works that way.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're doing this bounce around, nothing's planned, nothing's organized, you end up having more stress and anxiety because your brain is going, there's danger.
That's true, because and your brain's trying to keep track of all these things I want to do, and it can't do it. Just writing your to-do list down, right, makes a big difference. It frees up brain space. While also tracking your goals every day. You ought to be working out every day. You ought to be drinking more water. You ought to read a little more. You ought to meditate. Whatever your things are, you feel like you want to do. I guess you shouldn't say you should do it, but you want to do these things. But then without a system, it just gets lost in all, like you said, all that other stuff going on in our head. If you have this tracking sheet, you look at your tracking sheet. Oh yeah, I haven't had enough water today. I better drink some more water. Or I was going to do 100 push-ups every other day and haven't done them yet, or whatever it is.
Right. Or I need to take 5 minutes off.
Yes. Or I didn't plan to take a break for 20 minutes and meditate, or I didn't take my vitamins, whatever it is.
Yeah. Everyone's moved over to the phones, which are lovely. They use their iCalendar or their Google Calendar, and that's great. But it's not something sitting in there and focusing in, and then you can't see patterns. Recently, after going through your book, I sat down and I went through my key network, and I heat mapped every day. How long I was on, and what times I got calls. And I combined that and analyzed it down to a week, done it into a weekly pattern. I discovered that there were 2 hours that I wasn't putting in my planner, that I was getting more calls on than 2 hours I was planning to work. You don't have the data to look back at that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. So what reminds me, a good analogy of that is my husband, he does some coaching himself, but usually what he does is he picks up some slack when I'm like, he's better at budgeting. This is where I'm getting. He's better at budgeting. So if my clients really need help with budgeting, I can do the basics. I can do all of it, but he's so good that I'll set him up with him for an hour. So he'll always find $200 or $300 or $400 or $500 or $1,000. These people don't know where it's at, right? It's like time's the same way. They have no idea how they're spending it. And so you watch the pattern, you track your days, you track your habits. And the other thing that happens when you track habits is you're not likely to do so much time wasters. Because you have these things you're trying to get to. You look at your tracking sheet, man, I can't scroll through Facebook for half an hour. I've got to get my whatever it is, my reading in. I've got to get my meditation or my whatever it is that their people are doing. They feel are important to their lives. It's interesting to me that everybody can have a little bit different habits. Doesn't matter so much. More important that you have them.
Right. And that you're doing what's good for you.
That you're doing what's good for you, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, what they are does matter. You don't want to have a habit of, I don't know what, spending 2 hours on porn every day or whatever. I don't know.
That would be a little much. I think after a week I'd have to throw up. But, medication, everyone that, looking at how you spend your hour of lunch.
Yeah.
Looking at, are you taking a lunch? How often are you not eating lunch and having a low sugar thing? And you're wondering why you can't focus in the evenings. If you ain't tracking and planning, you don't know what the heck you done, so you can't figure out the problem.
Yeah, that's true. And eating is an excellent thing to track. I mean, what you eat sometimes. I'm not really a big fan of tracking what you eat. It makes people kind of obsessed with food, but tracking and making sure that you did. If you're a person who, I would not skip a meal. I wouldn't miss a meal for anything, but there are people who do. A lot of people who do. And they think they don't really know what they've done for sure. If you write it down, plan it, then it's going to happen if it's something that's not happening for you.
Right. And it's the reversal of that too, is the amount of money that I have saved meal planning.
Oh yeah.
And then
Eh,
going back
yeah.
and looking at it and going, okay, this meal makes enough for three of us. This isn't a good meal for the two of us. Let's go
Mhm.
and, let's put that over into the entertaining category when I'm going to have like six people. Because otherwise I'm throwing it out.
Yeah.
One of those falling into it is chili. I don't make chili unless I'm having a bunch of people over because it
Okay.
feeds 20 people.
Yeah. And you don't want to have to eat, you don't want to have to eat chili for every day for a week.
No, nope, done that. Don't want to do that. Um, so you were telling me about that you're working on a planner coming out.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So the people that I've worked with in the past and currently, and everybody's dying for this planner. They keep getting calls, and it just keeps getting delayed for one reason or another. But my clients, ex-clients, and people that I
Hmm.
work with and around all do these habits that I've taught them, right? How to track your goals, how to write affirmations daily, write them daily,
Hmm.
plan your day, some of those things. And so we're providing a planner where you've got a space every day to write your daily affirmations for each month. There'll be a tracking sheet for a month. There's
Hmm.
your monthly calendar place to plan your day. But every day you'll have this spot right here where I can do my to-do list. I can write my schedule. I can write
Hmm.
my affirmations, and then I just flip it over to my calendar and I can check off my daily on my daily tracking sheet. So
Yeah.
everything's right there. One of the reasons I was inspired to do this is one of my clients. He just said, I don't want to throw my notebooks away that have my affirmations in. We teach this saying, everybody does this, right? But write down these bad things and wad them up and throw it away. We don't want to throw away the good things,
Right.
right? It's kind of, I don't know what it is. It doesn't sound like good karma or something. I don't know.
Well,
So he wanted, and it's a record. Your tracking sheet's a record of how far you've come. Your to-do list is a record of how far you've come. It's kind of your life in one little book. So we wanted to create something that was all in one book. And then my clients aren't packing around 3 notebooks of things. And then they could save it if they chose to, at least for a while. So they can look back and see how far they've come.
well, not only that, but to go back. Something I find a lot of times that I do with my older planners is I go back when something's not working anymore. Go back to the original and see what it was, see what went on during that time. And then going, oh, okay, this is what I need to get back to.
Oh, yeah, sure. And I think what's really good is also, and I'm a strong believer in this, you have to stop once in a while and look back and see how far you've come. I
Hmm.
had a client the other day that's like, I just feel like I'm doing all these things. And he was doing a ton, he picked up tons of things that
Hmm.
he was doing a ton of stuff. He sort of got mired in it a little bit. And he's like, I just don't know if I'm getting anything done. So I said, Nate, it's been 4 months we've worked together. How many books have you read? 15. Were you working out before we started? Now he's working out 5 days a week. He wasn't at all when we started. He was praying more intently. He was reading more intently. He bought a business. His goal was to make $1 million in 8 years. He had nothing. He still has nothing, but he's got this little business now that he'll be able to flip with a little bit of time,
Right.
and start working on his $1 million. So he did all that in 4 months. But it was important for his enthusiasm to be able to look back and see how far he'd come. And
Right.
that's important for all of us to look back a month, a year, 5 years, and
Hmm.
give ourselves credit for what we've done. Otherwise, sometimes we just get caught up in the what's not getting done right now and
Right.
lose what we've already accomplished.
Very much so. How's his happiness factor?
His?
Yeah.
Yes, I asked him that because as you know, that's the theme. That's
Yeah.
the theme kind of the book is that we're happy when we're moving forward. And he said, I asked him that. I said, remember 4 months ago, how were you doing? He was miserable because he was stuck, being
Hmm.
stuck, feeling like you're backsliding even. You can't seem to move forward. You don't know how to, that's a horrible place to be. It's
Right.
depressing. It causes anxiety. And he was suffering with some of those things. He didn't have that anymore, right? Because the
Right.
opposite is also true. When we're moving towards our divine potential or our infinite potential, we're happy. Even if it's just all it is ever
Yeah.
is tiny inches. You can only move teeny tiny little steps forward.
Right.
There's no way, and no other way. And that's all you have to do. Just teeny tiny little steps forward, and happiness comes back. And he'd made some great strides, obviously, little
Right.
tiny steps at a time, but lots of them. And he was, of course, way happier. And he looks happier when you see him. He
Oh,
looks like a
that
different guy.
working out 5 days a week, having
Yeah.
read that many books, he would be so much more comfortable. I would think.
Oh yeah.
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 So,
Yeah.
why
He
do
was
people's
pretty proud.
goals mostly fail?
Because they don't have a system. I mean, really, that is really why. I think that's the main thing. I don't believe in smart. I mean, don't believe in smart goals. And that's in the book. That's
Hmm.
specific, measurable. That's good for action steps. But I
Hmm.
think I like Jim Collins' acronym instead. BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. So
Right.
keeping your eye on those big, hairy, audacious goals, those really big dreams you want, keeping an eye on those,
Hmm.
that helps goals succeed too. But the main thing is not having a good system. Obviously, a coach helps. There's
Hmm.
several things that can help, but the number one thing is not having a habit of using a good system.
Right. And that's a problem I'll see a lot of time with goal setting and
Mhm.
vision boarding is people want quick results when they're first learning out how to do it. So they'll make little goals.
Yeah,
And those are real great. But you got to have them leading into something else.
yeah, that's exactly right. You do small goals, your action steps. So I take a goal and break it down. Here's my big goal. I want to be independently wealthy. It's
Hmm.
immeasurable. It's not even measurable, right? It's what I call an infinite goal. I want to
Right.
be independently wealthy, whatever that looks like. I don't sure for sure, but it's going to be big. It's going to be awesome. I'm
Right.
keeping it independent. I've got some vision of it. I'm keeping
Hmm.
that in my sights. But in the meantime, you can't measure that. How am I going to measure independently wealthy? But I can measure putting this much money in the bank. I can measure investing in a business. I can
Hmm.
measure starting my own business.
Hmm.
I can do some of these things that is measurable.
Hmm.
I'm keeping my eye on the great big goal, the big prize, because if I just focus on these things, it's boring.
Right.
It's not going to hold me through. That's another reason I think people's goals fail is they set them too small or they forget what they really want.
Right.
Remembering what you really want is what, you don't in the middle of a workout, you're not like, this is fun. I mean, sometimes, but not very often. You're like, man, I'm sure
Not
going to be
often, honey. I want to
few
see
more,
the
few more
welfare.
months of this. I'm going to be ripped.
Uh huh.
That's what gets you jazzed up, right?
Right. I want to see the workout where people are laughing because I'm
Right.
sorry.
Yeah, they're laughing. They're not working hard enough.
They're not. They need to set that treadmill a little bit higher, lift a little bit more heavier
Yeah.
weight.
Yeah.
Put some
Never
strength.
saw me laughing in my program. I had this tough program. We did boot camps, and they were tough. I said I think that maybe they thought coming in it was going to be some old lady program because I was a little more mature, right? But
Hmm.
I'm tough,
Yeah.
and I had high expectations of everybody, and I had a really hard program. If anybody was laughing in it, I mean, they had time to laugh. They had oxygen enough to laugh. They weren't working hard enough.
Exactly. They weren't picking up the right weights or anything like that.
Yeah.
When looking at like personal development habits, what are some that you want to take on or you think people don't give enough weight to?
Um, Most people know they need to work out, to
Mhm.
exercise. They need to eat better. It I think probably one that some people will really go after this one and some not at all. They have to learn how to do it, but making sure that they do some daily motivation. Jim Rohn was fond of saying that the world is negative or life is negative. We have to swim upstream if you want to make your dreams come true because the world is negative. And that's just how it is. It's not like we need to wring our hands about it and go, oh my gosh, the world is negative. You just know it is. And you've got to pour some positive stuff into you to keep you
Mhm.
going. So I think that's a habit that everyone needs and probably too few people uh, do on a daily basis. I'll read a book here and there, but we really need daily motivation. I'd say that's probably one that's overlooked. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably be a big one.
Um, I know one that I think people overlook a lot of times is quiet.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Some
Is
people,
finding
and I
quiet.
almost said that about meditation too. It doesn't have to be meditation.
Right.
And again, I think they're two different things, prayer and meditation, but it could be
I
prayer or
agree.
it could be meditation, or it could be just turn off all my electronics and
Mhm.
close my eyes for 10 minutes. But yeah, the world is very noisy and it's probably because I think as a psychic, I'm not, again, it's not in my wheelhouse, but I would imagine you can't get the feelings that you need about things if there's a lot of noise and distraction around. So I don't think any of us can get inspiration in the
Hmm.
midst of music, cell phones going off, conversation, people coming and going. I mean, we need quiet. We don't get
Yeah,
much of it in our society.
we don't.
Yeah.
our society a lot of times, in my opinion, has gone to super noise. Now, if I don't want to read, yeah, the radio's up. It's, like when I
Mhm.
want to alpha wave it out, crank up the heavy metal, hit the road driving, I won't be a bit psychic because it drowns out everything else.
Right. And that's okay. It's okay sometimes, like, I'm not
Yeah.
heavy metal. That wouldn't be my thing, but country music, I can put the top down on my car, crank up
Yep.
the radio, listen to some old rock and roll or some country music that I like. That's fine. But there's a
Mhm.
space for that. There has to be a space for quiet time so that we can reflect. You can't do it in a lot of noise. And that is why our society offers so much that's good. We have so much opportunity we've never had before. But we have to discipline ourselves to also walk away from it or step away from it for a few minutes and make sure that we have quiet and still time.
Mhm.
And so I have become a real big advocate of meditation. I've always been an advocate of prayer. Um, so, yeah,
And both
quiet
are
time. That's a good
very
one.
strong. Another area of personal development I think gets ignored is our spiritual selves.
That is true. And you know what? This will surprise you maybe, or maybe that surprises me, but I have never, I can think I can safely say that I have never, at least that I can recall off the top of my head, and I've thought of this a few times, ever had a client, one-on-one client, that didn't want to develop the habit of prayer or didn't want to improve their already existing habit. One of those, either
Right.
improve the one they had or develop that habit as a daily habit. Isn't that interesting? All religions, churchgoers, non-churchgoers,
Mhm.
everybody wants that. I don't
Right.
think we
And
realize
that's
how really
one of the
spiritual we are.
things when we look at spirituality, that's one of the things that goes across board from Wiccans all the way up. There is a level of prayer, one way or another, all phase, link into prayer. It may not be with the same form, but it's interlinking with that deity energy.
Yeah, I think that there is. It's a craving in us to, I think the craving to move towards the light and to our source, maybe our
Hmm.
creator. I don't know, something like that in that realm. But I think that's true. We all have it. It's inside of us. It's not like, some people will maybe make fun of that. Oh, these people, the opium of the masses kind of thing. But no, it's really inside of us. It's not inside of us as a fear or a weakness. It's inside of us as a natural calling, I
Right.
think, for something higher. And I certainly hope there's something higher. If this is it, we're in trouble.
Well, if this is it, I want a refund because this
Yeah,
cabinet
right. Me
sucks.
too. No,
Um,
this isn't it, obviously.
yeah.
I also, my hosts have been the same way. I have been really impressed. I've been on 55 interviews or more, Aeson. That's in 3 months. In three
Hmm.
months. That's just in this 3 months.
Right.
Um, and I have been impressed at the deep level of spirituality of my hosts. And
Hmm.
they're not necessarily religious based programs. They're
Right.
just spiritual people. And you're, I think, the fourth psychic that I've
Oh,
talked to.
cool.
I said to one of my friends, he's sort of kind of a coach and a friend of mine, but he said, I said, Jim, I've been so impressed at the spiritual level of these psychics. I didn't know it was about psychics, right? It was kind of
Right.
like new for me. He said it's because they're intuitive. I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, I know. No, what I said was, I've been so impressed at the good interviewers they were,
Hmm.
that well the interviews went, and he said it's because they're intuitive. And I thought,
Right.
well, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so you don't like SMART goals?
No, action steps fine. Action steps should be measurable as a rule, unless there's something that can't be measured. Like you wouldn't want to throw out, I want to be I want, my goal is to be a good listener. You don't want
Right.
to throw that out because you can't measure it. So there's still a place for things that are not
Right.
SMART goals, but for things that can be broke down into SMART goals, great.
Mhm.
There's a place that your tracking sheet has to be that way, but I wouldn't teach it. Just make
Yeah.
sure that your tracking sheets, you say, I did or I didn't, firmly, clearly what you want to do and what counts. And I don't go into the SMART goal things. I like big, hairy, audacious goals.
Um, where is routine building coming in here?
Yeah, that's these habits we're talking about. I think
Mhm.
you're already way ahead of me on this, but successful people, and they typically do it like this. Not everybody's going to be the same, but most people that I've studied and that I've admired and that are movers and shakers in the world, their days kind of look like this: personal development, me time in the morning. I read, I work out, I meditate, I pray, whatever your thing is that you do in the morning, you do that in the morning. And then you have a work day, a productive time. And some people start at 5 and some people start at noon, but whatever that looks like. And then in the evening or at the end of their day is their relationship time, dinner with family, play with the kids, tuck them in, go out to dinner with friends, that kind of thing. So most people that are very successful structure their life kind of like that. But that morning routine has to be sacred. And the reason I think morning works is because nobody's going to bother you early in the morning, hopefully.
Right.
And it's the first thing while our self-esteem is still, our willpower is still strong. We only have so much willpower in a day. What's the word I'm looking for? Self-discipline. There's only so much discipline in a day that we like have a allotted amount.
Well, that's when we don't have a lot of distractions.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of distractions. We're still fresh. We're still energized for the day. So the best thing we can do for other people, I could get a lot of moms will say, yeah, but my kids, they need me and I can't get anything done. Do your kids a favor. Tell them you're busy for the next hour. Go in your room and do your stuff, whatever it is. Take care of you. And then you'll be a better mother and you'll teach them to take good care of themselves.
Right. And I think there's some hard things that, we've learned out of like Steve Jobs and, Elon Musk, and we've also learned out of a lot of forethinkers. And that's forgetting that the clock exists, except for like timing. Like my morning is 3 in the afternoon. My night is 10 in the morning. And getting used to being able to move and shake as you need to pull it together.
Yeah, I remember reading in Tim Ferriss's book, Tribe of Mentors. He talked about, and you can totally see this, he talked about this record producer whose days began at noon. He got up at noon because I imagine if you're in the record business, you have a lot of late evenings, right? You're out rock and roll and whatever and meeting people and musicians and whatever. So he got up, he's same routine though. He gets up at noon and before he makes himself available to anyone else, he would take care of his sacred routines, as one of my clients calls them, my sacred routines. And when he's finished with taking care of his personal development, then he goes out and works on his business and does whatever else he does.
Yeah. And I think that, a lot of coaches and a lot of mentors out there, I hear them scream, oh, you got to be up at 4 in the morning. That first 3 hours, 4 to 7 in the morning, are so important. And I'm like, I'm already up at 4 in the morning. I'm having a business meeting with someone in Taiwan at 4.
You haven't gone to bed yet.
Yeah.
Well, I will say this though, Aeson. Statistically, the most successful people do get up early. I don't know about 4 in the morning, and that's great, but it isn't for everybody. It doesn't feel like the record. I like the story about the record guy because obviously his lifestyle doesn't fit that. Right. So, and I did get very early for a long time because I had 6 kids, Oh, and did some early morning teaching. So I had a bunch of things and worked out in the morning before my kids got up. So I had to get up pretty early. That's how my life demanded. But my big dream was to be able to sleep until 7. When I finally got where I could sleep as late as I wanted, I chose 8 instead. So my day, here I am, the queen of personal development. I did get up really early for 40 years. I get up now at 7:30, 8 o'clock, most days just whenever I want to. But then as soon as I'm up, then I'm meditating, I'm praying, I'm reading, I'm working out, I'm going to go for a walk and get my steps, spend a little time outside. I spend 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours on me. And then I'm ready to do interviews, even late night ones, Aeson, even late at night.
The other thing that I really like about your book, and it pulled into a lot of different things for me and caused me to actually even look at my planner system, is allowing yourself to be you and looking at things for real and going, where do I want to go? And then mapping it. That I thought was important. Looking at all 8 pieces of you is important.
Yeah.
Who do you look at?
As a role model? That is a tough one. This is one of my frustrations in our world is we don't have enough. We have everybody doing life coaching and not very many people modeling well-rounded, productive, successful, happy lives. There are a few people in my world who I admire. I typically admire like a whole bunch of things about him, but maybe not so much this.
Right.
You know, my husband would be somebody who I think is very good at taking care of all the aspects of life. And so he's somebody that I would look at. I still look mostly to people say, who do you get for mentors for yourself? It's tough. And I expect people to be on higher ground than me. And I've done a lot of work on me. So I'm on pretty high ground. And if I'm going to get mentored, I like to use the word mentoring because that means that the person has some experience. Mentored by somebody, they've got to be on higher ground than me. So it's a tough one. I do think that people who are, Abraham Maslow said self-actualized. I kind of hate to use that phrase, but for not a lack of a better phrase, people who are self-actualized, who have good life mastery, need to get out there and make a difference in other people's lives because we're hungry for people who can do that, people who are well-rounded.
Did you find any interesting tidbits watching the culture as we went through COVID?
If anybody didn't do that, they wouldn't have their eyes open. I'm glad you brought COVID up. COVID is a perfect example of an obstacle in our life. So you could, and obstacles, if the guy that said, if you find a road without any obstacles, it probably doesn't go anywhere. COVID gave us an opportunity to choose how we would react. You could sit at home, watch TV, gain weight, wring your hands, watch the news. The world's going, down, spiraling down at a rate we'll never stop it. I mean, everything's a mess, everything's horrible. I don't know what we're going to do. We're all going to die or whatever. Or you could have said, whoa, look at the extra time I've got on my hands. I think I'll take a course. I think I'll write a book. I think I'll work. I know several people got into shape during COVID and they look awesome. Yeah. Other people, not so much. And so COVID, I'd say the biggest lesson from COVID is, we live downtown, right downtown in Boise, Idaho, right down the center of town in a condo. So we have we own several businesses, and we've seen all these businesses around us. All of our businesses have just done great during COVID. I've seen businesses kind of wring their hands. We can't do business the way we've always done it. We don't know what to do. We'll close the doors until it's over. Well, they never came back, right, for the most part. Right. But other business was like, whoa, how can we adjust to this? How can we make it in this time? What do we need to do differently? How can we actually thrive rather than just survive?
Right.
And those businesses are rocking. And they rocked through COVID and they're still rocking. We can do that as individuals too. You could have rocked through COVID, or you could have sat around and got depressed. And really it was an option.
Things that I noticed was people slowed down. They pulled back and went, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Why am I away from my home 80 hours a week, not getting what I want, not doing the job I want? And I think they've done a lot of soul searching. I think we saw a lot of people returning to working in gardens and having gardens and being a little bit more self-sustainable, reconnecting with the earth, getting a lot more spiritual. But I saw a lot of people starting to adapt to things that they were resistant to. This is one of those things I think in life mastery is hard, and it's adapting to changes.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is just what I'm thinking as well. Is like you said, I think I kind of skipped that part, but people did have to stop and say, okay, what's going on here? And for a lot of people, it was a time to slow down, reevaluate, decide what you really wanted. Look at all the people we have that are doing things outdoors. You couldn't buy sporting equipment in this town to save yourself. Every year, Costco would have kayaks all summer long. They were gone by April. It was like, and everywhere you went, the lines of people, cars lined up at hiking trails. And I think a lot of people did stop. I think we're going to see a lot fewer people go back to the workforce. Yeah. I think there's parents that said, being home with my kids, I think was more important than I thought. I think we're going to see people who work at home and say, you know what, I don't have to live in this city that I don't like. I can live in another city and work at home and have a higher quality of life. Yeah, I think there's opportunities for all kinds of things during COVID. And if you didn't take advantage of it, I feel sorry for you. I mean, not you, but people listening.
Oh, I took advantage of it, honey. March 13th will always be echoed in my brain because I pivoted quickly, and this was a skill I learned way back when I was working bars and restaurants and things, was to be able to pivot. And I pivoted. I switched everything to home base. We used to be on the road 52 weekends out of the year doing shows and stuff. We aren't doing that. I don't need to do that.
Yeah.
I had an office, physical office. I don't need that office. I can work here at home. I can do events when I want to, the ones I like. The rest of them I'll do virtually. My clients, I talk to clients on 7 continents. There's no reason that they have to hop on a plane and come see me.
Yeah. So there you go. See, you were able to slow your life down and improve your life and still do what you
Right.
love and do what you think is important. There was so much opportunity for that. If you looked for it though,
Yeah.
Aeson. I'm not sure everybody did that. I think a lot of people sat and watched the news and just thought they'd wait until it's over. And you can't wait. The world will never be the same again. If you wait for it to all go back the way it wasn't going to be the same anyway, no matter what
I don't
happened.
think we'll be able to. I mean,
No, we'll never go
looking
back.
at it,
We shouldn't.
well, and this is going to sound so out there, but I'm going to say it anyhow. A lot of people learned that working that same shift every day really wasn't required.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Now we have a lot of options in our modern age, and then another thing I think that people learn too is I've got to take care of my health. I can't count on the government to take care of me. I hope they learned that you can't count on the government is not going to be your first best choice for healthcare, to make decisions about your health. I hope people learn to take their health in their own hands and make their own decisions and do their own research, and maybe not show up for the hospital so often because too many people didn't come back out.
Well, and here's the
So
thing.
I hope that we learned a little bit about taking care of ourselves.
Right. And,
physically.
and I think that we had gotten into an age where, and I'm going to say it really bluntly,
I did.
the emergency room was seen as just as a late night hour doctor office.
Yeah, I know, right?
And
I think
it's
so.
like, no, this isn't how this rocks. This isn't how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, learning, take a couple Tylenol and look at your things and make decisions. And I also feel like on the personal development side and the life mastery side, we took back the reins of our lives. Because a lot of us got into the rat race. A lot of people got into, and I'm going to say all the way back to the 40s, on shift work and shift ideas. And, we need someone for this job. Well, build another office.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I'm hoping corporately they've learned that that's not how you do this. The best person for your company may be in Tijuana and you live in, somewhere else. Great. Send them a computer.
I think from on the flip side of that too is business owners. Well, we're having a little bit of a problem getting. I don't know if you are there too, but we can't get workers here, and that's probably. I think that's true just about everywhere. But yeah, I see again business owners automating some things that they can't find anybody, so they find a way to automate or to new systems where they need fewer people. They're learning how to. It could be the pendulum could swing the other way really fast if this keeps happening, but I think a lot of employers are learning how to do things differently because of the labor shortage. So they say innovation. See, necessity is innovation of creation, right? Is that what they go? Something like that.
Yeah, innovation is the necessary of creation. But I think the last time I looked, and I haven't looked in a few days, guys, so if this number is wrong, I'm sorry. We lost 700,000 people. Yes, there's going to be a labor shortage just from that alone.
Yeah. Except for most of those are probably out. We're already out of the labor force, but still, that's still going to be, some of those weren't. Yeah. And yes, I think I just looked today. It's 700. We're about 700,000. We're pushing 800. I think we're getting up there towards 800.
Yeah, we're getting
close to 800 or something. Yeah.
Even working the numbers, 500. We'll go with an easy number of 500,000 people are no longer in the workforce. Yeah. One or three ways they've crossed. someone who's connected to them has crossed, so now they have to take on those responsibilities of babysitting and all that that maybe that member was doing, or they've just said, I can't do this, it ain't worth the risk,
Yeah.
so I'm going
Oh,
to go
yeah,
do something
true.
else. Because those numbers, the labor numbers, the employee numbers, don't look at independent contractors, don't look at people going, you know what, I've got a year to go figure out how to do something other than flip a burger and make an
Right.
omelet.
Yeah, I wouldn't count in numbers as employed, and yet, I do the coaching, and I've got my book, and I'm doing interviews
Mhm.
and all these things. So, yeah, you're
Yeah,
right about that. Yeah.
so yeah, there's a labor shortage, but I think that it's also an employer awakening.
Yeah, I think so. Again, like I said, I think employers are. One weird thing I think has happened. I don't know. I never hear anybody say this, but I don't watch the news either. But
Hmm.
um, I just check headlines here and there. But we had all this fuss about raising minimum wage, and now
Hmm.
everywhere I look, people are hiring people for the same minimum wage. I was not a particular fan. I think to me it's obvious. You raise minimum wage, then you raise the cost of goods and services. It just works like that. But I thought it's interesting that wages are going up to where they wanted minimum wage. Minimum wage has done that all on its own without
Hmm.
being regulated because people can't get workers any other way but to pay them, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, $18 an hour.
Right.
Starting, minimum wage. So,
Well, looking at that, looking at the minimum wage section of it, when we look at countries that already have the minimum wage that they are wanting, the $15 an hour, the cost of goods and services are about the same, but they have different workforces, different work values too.
and again, I think, well, it's because, of course, we're business owners, but
Yeah.
I think what we're seeing that we did during the recession is we learned how to get by on fewer people. And when
Hmm.
the recession, when the recession was over, well, we'd learned how to get by with fewer people. So
Right.
we require less people, not a lot less, but a little less
Hmm.
than we did prior to the recession to still do the same amount of work, right? We can do the same because we've got some systems in place.
Right.
So that will be happening too. That'll be another thing I
Right.
think that'll be happening.
And that's part of Life Master too, is learning
Mhm.
systems, putting systems in place and
Oh, yeah.
to them.
All
Um,
that life success is about systems, isn't it? Being
it
successful.
is, and having a flow of things, and for my business and my thing, I've always built it and I have an assistant, I have a housekeeper. My systems are built from what I done for someone else to be able to pick it up and go do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you're looking at that goal building system, you need to do that yourself. Step out of yourself for a moment and look at the goal and go, okay, so how would I tell someone else to go do that?
Oh, yeah. Right. As we just sold our business to the employees at an ESOP and sold our main business to the employees. But if you try to sell your business, for example, I mean, just as a metaphor, without without systems, if you just do it all your way, it's all your systems, and somebody can't take it over,
Mm-mm.
you don't have much value in your business. It has to be something somebody can walk in and operate the systems, right? You take over the systems and go forward. Otherwise, your business doesn't have very much value.
Right,
It's your systems that they're buying in a sense.
right. They're not buying your technology. They're not buying your building. They can buy a building. They're buying your business, how
Yeah,
you're doing.
your business is how you set up business and how you run your system. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And, if you look at that, like, mom goals, what if you hire a nanny? What's she going to do?
Yeah. Well, that Tim Ferriss, another one. Tim Ferriss's book's about 4 Hour Work Week, and he's all big on that. Like hire a housekeeper, you hire a cook, hire a virtual assistant, and
Hmm.
save yourself for the things that are really important. You mentioned that earlier too, and
Yeah.
we actually do that. We have plenty of time, really. I mean, in that sense, we're retired. In the other sense, we've got a lot of projects. So somebody cleans our house, everything goes to dry cleaning. We eat out every night because we live downtown, so we eat out every
Right.
night. Um, we live pretty simply, but it does free us up to work on our projects. We can spend more time working with people.
Hmm.
We can spend more time with each other because we really like to be together.
Yeah.
So
Well, a lot of business coaches, um, they will tout as soon as you can afford it, get yourself an assistant.
yeah,
I'm
I
one
do. I
coach.
have one.
I'm one coach that'll trump that. And this is my trump to that. As soon as you can afford it, get yourself a housekeeper. Forget the assistant, get yourself a housekeeper.
Yeah. Yeah, they're cheaper too. I
Yeah,
think
depending on the pay. I mean,
yeah. No, I used to, when I was younger, I'd say cleaning my own house kept my feet on the ground. And I think there was some truth to that, but that's way overrated. It depends what you're doing. If you're sitting around the house, and yeah, you probably should clean your own house. But really, if you're going to put your time to good use, you want to work on yourself, work on your projects, serve people, help other people. Plus, the other thing I figure is, when I sold my business, I had a lot more time. I told Ken, I said, I could clean the house. He said, she needs the money. Why would we clean her house? We don't want to do that anyway. And then take her job away from her, right?
right,
And she likes it. She likes
right,
cleaning my house. She likes being here. So yeah, it's a win. Everybody wins because
right.
she needs the money. She likes to be here, and we like her. She likes us, and I don't have to clean the house, and then
Well,
more time to do other
and it
things.
gives you, for me, and it was really hard for me because, I was the super wife. The house was do the house, do the cooking, do all this, do this, and run the business, the angelou to everything. And I'm like, okay, it takes me 5 hours to do my house. Okay. My billable rate right now is $160 an hour.
Yeah, so you're losing money when you clean your house.
I'm losing money when I clean my house.
Yeah.
So I hire a housekeeper. I pay the housekeeper good. Takes him 5 hours. He cleans the house, and I can go focus on my other projects. I can
Sure.
fill in something else. And I think that is something that sometimes gets lost in coaching, is looking at things and going, okay, where are you spending your time at? And this is where tracking comes in at. And is that the best value for that hour?
Yeah. That's true. When we were running our business, we saw all of our kids at home. We're still kind of in that between, we're into completely independent of the business yet. Still had to work at, and we still had kids at home. We didn't have the money to do that, but we had money. And Ken said he's very good at fixing things and whatever in the house, painting walls, whatever needs to be done. Very handy. But he said, I lose money when I can make more money going to work, working my business, than I save by doing these odd jobs around the house. So we started back then hiring things out, and we hire anything that we can hire out, even things he can do. We're like, who could do this for us?
Right. Keep a Rolodex. And I think that is something that we lost probably in the 1970s. 1960s, 1970s, the idea of hiring out you can do it, but it costs you more.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a headache, and let the people who do that thing well do it. And we'll do what we do. We do what we do well. You do it, you would do well. And everybody's happier. Sure. I agree. I totally agree, Aeson. I agree.
Yeah. And I think that's how we build back a lot of people that don't need a full-time job, don't want a full-time job.
Yeah. I'm my house cleaner. I'm the only person she cleans for. She just wants to clean mine. She doesn't really want a cleaning business. She just wants to clean my house.
Right. And it's realizing that scope also when you're looking at goals. Like, do I want to be on TV? Yeah. Do I want to, shut down half my business for 3 months out of the year? Yeah. No. That would be insane. So no, I won't be taking a reality TV job to shut down my business. And I think that's something that people, when they're setting their goals, has to sit there and weigh out too.
Yeah. You have to keep an eye on what you really want, and otherwise you get distracted by things. It's easy to become distracted by especially entrepreneurially minded people. They've got a bazillion ideas, and most of my clients are those kind of people. And then one of my main jobs is to keep them focused on the main job, right? This is where you want to go, and that little thing over that's not going to get you there. So let's just stay focused on what you wanted, and look ahead and stay focused on what's happening here.
Right.
And what you said you wanted, and just the little note somewhere in a notebook saying, someday when I get this thing done, maybe I'll do this thing. But right now I do what gets me to my goal.
Right. And staying focused on your goal. Now, what's this pine cone thing?
Oh, yeah. So that's here's a dilemma. It's really a redwood coniferous cone, not a pine coniferous cone, but it should be dark brown, except it didn't look very pretty on the book. So we just did golden. I thought, they'll read the book and then they'll know. But the idea is this: we have infinite potential. We have so much potential, divine potential, however you want to put it. We'll never, ever see it in this life. We have so much potential. And a redwood, but we're right, just little. We're not doing much with it right now. It's just, we're little seeds, little embryos of what we could be. So the pine cone, the redwood coniferous cone is only like about 1 inch tall. So, and if you've ever stood at the foot of those trees, they are amazing. They are like majestic, awe-inspiring. Ken tells me that redwood, he grew up in the redwoods, that the redwood trees first growth can be 3 times the tallest building in Idaho. So that's like about 17, 18 stories. So it's 3 times 18 stories or 17 stories. That's how big they can be. But they start with this little cone that's only this big. Ponderosa pines have great big old cones, and they are a fraction of the size of a redwood. So anyway, that's the idea, is that humans are like the cone of the redwood. We're just tiny little, but we have so much potential inside of us. We can be majestic, but most of us will never realize it because we just molder in the ground. But for those of us who will take root, we can be magnificent. And that's the symbolism of what looks like a pine cone.
Yeah, I just wondered. I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah. I get asked that a lot, and I probably should fix that somehow. But I like the gold on it, and I don't know how. If I make it small, it just looks like a smaller pine cone. Yeah. So I probably should reduce the size on it. Is probably what I should do. But
so, what other product? We talked about the planner coming out, and I really am going to push for either downloadable content or a disc-bound system.
Oh, yeah, that's a thought. Oh, that's a good idea. He said, I'll have to think about that. I wouldn't think to consider that.
Yeah, both of those. What else you got going on?
Well, we have, obviously, I like to mentor in person, and I'll do Zoom. I will do Zoom, which I do occasionally, but I like to also keep my schedule fairly light. So I can't do everybody. The books come out. I have a lot of demand for that. Right. So I have people that have worked with me when I was at Fitmania that learned these systems and coached with me. I've been doing this for years. I would not let anybody do it that are not doing it already themselves, because they have to be on higher ground, right? So I have a number of people who are working with me and taking clients. And so we're building that business. I don't actually run that part of the business. I kind of let them do it, but they are awesome. So if people are interested in, you asked me who you could look to. I have these people that I work with, and they are people that people could look up to and say, oh, they're on higher ground than me. Every one of them are just spectacular. They use tracking sheets. They write their affirmations. They're successful. They really have life mastery. So we're building that, and we're starting, and it's a little less expensive than working with me until, at least for now, until they get to be better than me, and they'll probably do that. So we have that going. Of course, the book, I'm spending from last July to the next July till next year, 2022, promoting the book. And I feel like it's really valuable, and it's something that I was inspired to put together, that people need this book. And so I'm going to do everything I can to get it in as many hands as I can until next July. Then I'm going to regroup. I've also got the audiobook is going to be out in about 2 to 3 weeks. He tells me 2 weeks. I can't believe it can be just 2 weeks. It just seems so like it just sounds so soon. But so I'm going to say 3 weeks. But the audiobook of Life Mastery will be available on Audible and wherever you can find Audible books. In about 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm reading it myself with this deep, I like to think sultry voice of mine.
Right. Well, I find that important because I am an Audible user. I find that I like it when the author reads the book. Like, example, and this is so off genre, but Michelle Visage's book, read by anybody else would have been terrible. Read by Michelle Visage is amazing. You have a great voice for reading your own work, because you know where you really meant to say the instead of the, and actually put in the passion of the intelligence to it. I
think, there's a lot of my friends, I don't think I ever intended any other way. I think that a book like this should be read by the person who wrote it, whatever they sound like.
Yeah.
I think most personal development is typically read by the author anyway. Literature, you kind of want somebody with some acting ability in literature, but for what I've written, I just don't see any other way. And like you said, it's mine. I have to say it myself. I feel like no one's going to say it like I want it to be said. And so anyway, so that's out. And of course, there's a lot of worksheets and things in the workbook, so they'll all be downloadable. And actually, Aeson, on the website, there is a personal assessment that can help you determine which of those 8 areas you need to work on most and kind of
Mhm.
see where you're at. And that assessment is free on the website, lifemasteryinfo.com.
Mhm.
And so that's downloadable. Tracking sheets are downloadable. And I've given those on whatever business I've had. This is like my 4th website, I think. We've always made them available on whatever website that I had. So those are free.
Mhm.
And there's a reading list, a suggested reading list for that daily motivational stuff.
What's your favorite?
But my favorite? Oh, my one that I always send my clients to is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. My favorite would probably be just about anything by Jim Rohn. I just love Jim Rohn. He made a big difference in my life. Just about
Okay.
anything. Those are usually audio, but he'd
Mhm.
probably be my favorite. Of course, Wayne Dyer.
Yeah.
Wayne Dyer's been a big influence on me. So those are some of my favorites.
He's
But
been a
Darren
staple.
Hardy's good because he teaches nuts. I'm a nuts and bolts person. Like, no, there's not a lot of fluffy stuff. I'm like,
Right.
get down to work. Here's the thing to do. And Darren Hardy's the same way. And so
Right.
that's a good book for my clients if they don't have something else. Another one I would recommend right now, though, if I could, is
Mhm.
I did the Audible version of it, and my clients I've assigned my clients to do this. All my clients right now have been assigned to do this book, and they've loved it and have listened to it a number of times. And that is Soundtracks by John Acuff. I should get a cute book. I've recommended his book, so I don't even know him personally, but I've recommended that book to so many people.
Mhm.
And that's a really good one I would recommend right now too.
Cool. Very interesting. And again, that was lifemasteryinfo.com.
Yes. Life Mastery Info. Life Mastery was taken, so we had to add info. And then anybody can contact me. You can contact, I'm on social media, of course, Facebook, but you can message me that way. But obviously, we have
Mhm.
there and Instagram, but I don't do Instagram myself. Somebody else does that. I don't even know how to do Instagram. That's just full disclosure. But I do my own Facebook. But also, you can email me, Sherry, SHERRY, at lifemasteryinfo.com, or Sherry Lynn Fernandez, is the way it's spelled,
Right.
at lifemastery or at gmail.com. So I'm very accessible. I
Mhm.
love to hear from people. I'll answer your questions if you have them.
What's your dream client?
Every one of my clients has been like a dream client. But my clients, the ones I work best with and almost exclusively, are ones that have a lot burning desire to do great things. They're not sure what those things are. And they're typically entrepreneurial in spirit. They know that they need to do their own thing to meet their goals, their own business, in order to meet the financial goals that they have. So my dream client is anybody who's really motivated. They just need direction.
Mhm.
And I do great with entrepreneurs. So,
Yeah. Do you have any speaking engagements going up?
kind of backed off that. I'm going to start pushing that out again, being available in January. I
Mhm.
don't want to speak in a mask. That's the one thing.
Right.
And I don't really want to look at audience in full mask. I'm very interactive, and I had a friend tell me once I was doing team building. I couldn't think of the word. Team building activity for a bunch of teenagers. And afterwards, I was wearing my sunglasses outside. She said, Sherry, I wish you had taken your sunglasses off because your face is so expression. And I feel like the kids lost a lot by not being able to see your face. That was just sunglasses. So
Yeah.
I really don't want to do it until we're kind of done with that. But I'm going
Right.
to start putting it out there again in January. I am available to speak. I'll go about anywhere. If the opportunity's good, I will go anywhere. And by opportunity, if it's a good audience, that something I want to do, I'll go about
Right.
anywhere.
Right. And I think that that's an important part that a lot of us learned during COVID is I don't have to do this.
Right. And I don't have to do it. I have,
Yeah.
I am independently wealthy, and I don't have to do anything that I don't want to do. And I don't want to, I would rather speak somewhere for $5,000 and have an audience that I love, that really is responsive and wants to hear what I've got to say, than get 10,000 and have an audience that's they're just and don't want to be there. That's not
Right.
fun for me. So I'm not going to do it if it's not fun.
Right.
I do expect to get paid. I'm going to do it. Although I do plenty of stuff for free too. I do have to admit, I just spoke at the a junior high here in town, the Honor Society, yesterday. I spoke at that. And of course, they're not paying me anything.
Right. And, that's, we've talked a little bit about money tonight and different monetary things, but that's not why no coach ever does this is for the money. If you're in the
No,
business for coaching as money, you're in the wrong business.
you're in the wrong. If you're trying to build a career as a coach, I'm concerned, because if you're not already independently wealthy, what do you have to offer? If you're not already on higher ground financially, that's your idea. I just see so many people that are down, broke, divorced, whatever, all these problems, and they're 18 years old and they're like, I think I'll be a life coach. I'm like, how does that work? I don't know how you
Don't
do
you have
that.
to live life?
Yeah, go live a little bit, then come back and let's talk again.
Yeah, you know. So do you have plans for building a program?
Just the mentoring program I talked about, I'm letting these mentors sort of develop the program for themselves. So they'll be basically contract using my principles, my book, my workbooks and stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to get too involved. I did a business. I just got out of that one. I don't want to get deeply involved in another business, but I am going to put my heart and soul into promoting this book and my own speaking engagements and my planner. And I've got a workbook that's already finished. It's available. I've not it up yet on Amazon, but it's finished and available if somebody requested. So those projects, those are mine.
Yeah.
In my own mentoring program, I still will take clients
Right.
indefinitely, probably till I die, because
Right.
it's how I make a
That's
difference.
a joke of mine is I'll die pressing one on your keypad. Um, because in our business, and I think this is a lifestyle view that some coaches get and some coaches don't. I don't need to retire. Every year I just improve.
Right? You're wiser. You can get older and not get wiser, but if you're getting older and wiser, then you have something to offer.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
I can't. It flows out of me. I couldn't stop myself if I tried. Somebody would say, "Would you coach me?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah,
yeah.
sure." What the heck?
So
Yeah.
you talked about your husband kind of takes care of budgeting and billing in that department. Um, have y'all developed that's your department? Go figure out how much per ounce of cheese.
Well, we don't worry much about stuff like that so much, but he's always been better with money, and he's got a very genius mind for business. So if somebody's just got they know kind of what they're doing. I know enough about business to be able to give them a little bit of direction. Or if they want budgeting, I'm perfectly capable of making sure they are budgeting. If they really are in financial trouble, or if they're really trying to get a business started and they don't know where they're going, rather than me mess in it, why not just turn them over to Ken and let him work with them, because he's so good at it, right? He understands it at a deeper level than me. So those are two topics. He's always done the money in our home because he's better with money, and because we ran from a business. So when he has to juggle business money and home money, it didn't make sense for me to be trying to get involved in that, right?
Right.
And I had those 6 kids, and so and I hate that, to be honest. I hate budgeting. I hate financial stuff. I hate buying insurance. I hate writing wills. I hate signing contracts. I signed a bunch of them, but I don't like that stuff. It's boring to me.
Right.
So,
Well, this is something me and my co-host / partner recently does. He came into my home, he moved into my world, and I was already running business money and business math and home money and home math and all that. And over the past 6 weeks, I've now let him take over that department. Like I'm almost to the point of taking it out of my planner. That has been some of the hardest relationship work ever. And that should probably be a couple's book you should write soon.
Yeah, it probably was actually. It probably is a good idea. It's just like running a business. Everybody does what they do best. You hire people to do what they do best. So in a relationship, you do the same thing. Let's let this person's better at this. Let's let them do what they do. If you try to do everything yourself in a business, you'll never be successful. And the same thing in a marriage. If you try to do everything yourself, then, or whatever that kind of domestic relationship is, if you try to do everything yourself, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why not let this person, and then let them do it? They may not do it the way you would do it, but who cares?
Yeah.
If it's not your jam, don't do it. Let them do it. Or if it's just a little bit your jam, let them do it if it's theirs. And then everybody's happier and you're more productive.
Right.
When we first married, I could run the checkbook and all that. I lived on my own before we were married, but I don't like it. I'm not that good at it. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. And so It works. Let him do it. He likes it better.
Mhm.
He's good at it. So why in the world would I miss in it?
Well, not only that, but and this is what I find really hard, especially in relationships at this time point. You have people coming in, they're independent, they're doing their own thing, but they're supposed to be dancing together. And
Yeah.
it's like, figure out who's doing what.
And then what's the point?
Yeah.
You know, it's the meshing of two halves to make a whole. That's the point. And then you're more both. You're better. The two of you together are better than either of you singly. That's the point.
Right.
If you're dancing in different rooms,
Mm-hmm.
well,
Not really working.
Might as well just, not live together. I guess I don't know.
Well, and
Not the way I want to live.
Not the way you want to live, not the way I want to live. But that's a big part of my coaching. Is the reason I started bringing it up, and I'm sure it's a big part of yours. Is dealing in those relationships and
It's important.
looking at it and going, "Why are you doing twice the work?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why and why? And it's all this stuff anyway. Like, really, how important is it really? You know, who does what and how really important is that? The floor didn't get vacuumed. Like, who cares? We'll let the housekeeper do it.
Exactly. Let the housekeeper do it while you're off doing something else.
While you're off doing something else. Let everybody do what they do best.
Right.
Yeah.
Work on your goals, and and that's something the book is really good about, is pointing out, is being able to fine tune into those goals, what's influencing you, where you're headed to, where you want to be at, where you are now.
Yeah. That where you are now is good. That's why that assessment is so good. I'd really encourage people. It's free. Give you something to think about. That assessment. Get on lifemasteryinfo.com and get that assessment. It's 10 questions in all 8 areas, and then you plot it on a wheel. If you've got a flat spot, that's where you want to look, and that's what you're looking for, a spot. And you'll be almost everyone's surprised where they fall short. So,
yeah. All right. Well, thank you, darling, for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Now if it's going to be up on Audible in 2 weeks, that means it's already in their pre-order, so you can go and pre-order it. Yeah,
probably. Let's see. I don't know. Maybe I don't really know that, to be honest. He's finishing editing. Whoop.
I thought I saw it earlier.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how that's going to work for sure, but I don't think so, because we're having another company will actually put it up when the editing's done. So I don't know how that works. He tells me up in 2 weeks, but I see what you're saying. So that's a good question for me to ask.
Yeah, because I'm not seeing it up, and it should have popped up.
Yeah, I can't see how that would be. So
yeah, the podcasters that are listening to this, go check it out. I will make sure to share it on our social as soon as it comes up.
All right.
For our listeners, because a lot of our listeners love Audible. Get the book, guys. This is only.
I think what I'll do as soon as it comes out on Audible, I will send a link to all of my hosts.
Yeah, so that way we can continue to push it. When the planner comes out, I want you back.
Okay.
I want to talk about the sections in the planner, because every planner has a different feel. It has a different look. And for those that don't know, yes, I am a happy planner, freaking planning person all over. I just literally ripped out a section earlier, and we're redoing it before the show. So I'm excited if this planner is as good as it sounds like it's going to be.
I think it's going to be awesome. You're what I call a planner junkie.
I am, but here's the reason why. And me and my partner was talking about this earlier. Over the past year and a half, I've probably bought like 40 planners. And here's why. Everything changes. And when everything changes, the systems have to change.
Yeah. I think you'll like this one, because there'll be a place for, again, affirmations, tracking, writing in it. You can write a daily journal entry in it. There's a space, creative space in it, plus your daily calendar, plus your to-do list. It'll have the date and a quote on it. I mean, it's got everything that you would want. That's a little larger. It's going to be a full size, but that's the same size you held up, I think. So.
Yeah. Well, I held up a classic size. Full size is 8.5 by 11. And that's pretty much standard. And especially if you're doing that, I recommend download. That way
I
you
I
aren't
hadn't considered that, but I think
printer.
we'll look at that
Yeah,
as at least as an option.
yeah.
So, well, thanks for that tip.
You're welcome,
Well, thanks,
darling.
Aeson, for having me on. I sure appreciate it.
You're welcome.
It's good
Come
chat.
back as the new things
I
pop
will.
out.
You
And
need another guest, you let me know. I'll come back
I'll
again.
always need another guest, honey. If not, I'll schedule an extra show.
Okay. All right. Well, if you ever need me in particular,
Of course.
let me know. I'll come back again.
Will do, darling. You have a lovely evening. Bye.
You too. Thank you.
All right, guys. Oh, so it's been a great show. I am going to take some questions if you guys have questions for readings and stuff. Not a lot of hot topics tonight. We're going to save those for Friday night. Just a reminder, a love question isn't a love question is not a question for a show. It's a question for you to give me an appointment on. So yes, I am redoing my planner. For those that don't know, I have a planner boy, and I'm moved into line vertical for any of those that are interested. I was using the Hustle on Heart, but again, I was doing two of those just to work things out. But a planner, a system really does help you. It brings yourself together. Now, baristas, sometime in November, I haven't scheduled it yet. I will be having a planner class for my baristas that will be talking about planning and the system of planning and when you need more planners and why I have all 8 of mine and why and how that all works together. Um, Life Mastery is going to be coming out with hers. Be sure I will share that out, especially with my baristas. As soon as it comes out, I'm hoping to have Sherry back so we can talk about that and the different things together. I am taking questions, Ashley. Um, so baristas will be having a planner class. If you want to join in, you can always come and become a Patreon to and enjoy those benefits. But that was something that the baristas brought up. We will be talking about now. I think that it will probably be next week that I'll be doing the death talk and what happens after death. In my viewpoint, everything is from my viewpoint. If you missed last Friday's show on Mountain Bears, we got into a lot of stuff on guides and stuff. You may want to go check that out if you're normally just a psychic coffee shop watcher. All right. So, question from Ashley's mother-in-law: is Squidworth coming back into the picture? Let's see what's going on with Squidworth. I have to give her something. I really enjoy that she gives names to her boyfriends. Ooh. All right. So let's look at mother-in-law. I feel he is after he sacrificed his ego, which is a good thing. But it's your choice what you do with him, honey. You've got some options here you need to be paying attention to. All right. So let's take a look at Ashley's and see what's going on with Ashley and Sunny. All right, so here it is. I really feel like. Oh, you give him the names. Well, good. I feel like Sonny's feeling trapped. He's got a lot of financial stress and worries going on, and you feel like you've got a lot of irons in the fire and you're trying to figure out how to cook them all together. I do feel like things stabilize themselves out. This shows him returning. And then, of course, then we have the Three of Cups here, which is a time of celebration coming up. However, I feel like you guys have got to get your communication down. You guys have to understand each other. And I feel like he's boneheading it up and locking in there, Ashley. Now, granted, you can bonehead sometimes too and be very hard on yourselves, but both of you together have to work on that. Okay? Right. So, other things that I'm working on getting daily videos up. The daily postings are back up. I'm going to probably do a video on my planning systems before the planner class, and goal setting and that type of thing. And then also, I don't know. I think that we've been covering a lot of hot topics. I think we're going to go back to also having show topics. So I'm going to be popping those into the barista chat for you guys to decide what you like, what you don't like, to go along with hot topics. And then that just kind of pulls into a lot of things there. Oh, you love the astrology breakdown that I posted into the barista room. Yes, that will start being going back up. I'm going to start doing that monthly so that you guys can be a little influential on your astrology and using it to your best effort. Like the new moon coming up here in Scorpio on the 4th. That will be very positive use you can do for things. Did y'all like the new wallpapers that went up? This was the first time me trying to do the wallpapers myself went up. I hope you've liked those. If you haven't checked those out, go check those out on the Patreon. If you're not a Patreon member, you can do so for as little as $1 a month. We have 1, 5, and 10. Yes, this one does because it's dealing with your shadow side, Shannon. Um, does the new moon um, make people rude and mean? If it's dealing with their shadow side, the shadow side is the harder side of them. So yeah, it does. It makes them rude. It makes them harsh. So, yep, that does occur. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to cut this one a little shorter than normal. And, oh, it was nice, peaceful, and cozy. Yep, I thought it would be great for a February. Oh, wow. That is just terrible, Shannon. I am sorry to hear that. Shannon's work people have been rude and mean, and she almost wanted to slap somebody. Remember, it is not worth you slapping them physically. However, it is worth you slapping them emotionally, just taking that rage and just seeing it smack them across the face. Sure, I need your birthday. See, you can slap them even farther, Shannon. Call the dude's wife? Yeah, your boss may have had to call the dude's wife. Yeah, that's his kind of going through the back door. He's probably used to dealing with the wife. We have that occur around here. People will call Joe. All right, so 22082. Can I talk to the guy, to my guy friend freely, or should I hold back? Let me take a look here. Looking at it, I feel you can freely talk to him. I don't feel like you need to be holding back with this one. I do also feel like you should be expressing your emotions that you've got pent up there. So yeah, talk to him freely. All right. All right, so we do want to thank our baristas, and remember, you can always become a barista by visiting PCSPnetwork.com. And baristas, be sure to be checking your Patreons, making sure everything's happy over there, because there was some issues with the stuff. So please go and check that. But thank you to our supporter, Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Guest, Shannon C, and Shannon D, and of course the ever lovely Lady Gwendolyn, and Charles Schwab. All right, if you'd like to become a supporter, of course you can go do that. And I'm going to take this one last question. Harley Orban is 9996. A new guy came into my life. I've gained feelings for. His name is Logan. Could there be a future between him and I? I'll take a look here. I feel there is a future here, but it's still slow moving. You need to take your time with it. Be very diplomatic. Don't be trying to rush into it. Let the foundation build, okay? So you and Logan, I feel, will be a good connection there. All right, guys, you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you later. Bye. Well,
You can't tell me the deck is stacked. You can't whisper behind my back. You can't show me how the odds are up against me all day long. But I've been through the fire and come out alive, and there's no more fear in my eyes. Oh, now I'm rising, and you can't bring me down. You can't stop me now.